How's it going, guys? Today I want to show you the new trade deadline roster update EA just released today. So, as always, I'll show you guys how to get this in case you still don't know. All you have to do is go down to rosters there, active roster, then click download on the latest one. The trade deadline roster update is February 28th. If it'll load up here. So as you guys can see there, I already have it downloaded. Online roster 5, February 28th. You'll click A on that and you'll have the latest rosters. So as far as I know, this is just a player movement roster update, no rating changes, but still figured I'd just kind of show you guys how all the teams look after the trade deadline. Plus they've also added some of the trades that happened a week or two before that they didn't update yet, as well refresh some injuries. So Anaheim here looking really good. Definitely looks like a playoff team as long as they can hold that spot. They're going to be, very competitive, I think, once they get in. Gibson there, I think he's actually injured right now, so I don't know if he just got injured or what, but I believe he is injured. Scratch players, they also signed Chris Kelly. Eves is still out, though, so Anaheim, they're going to be a scary team once they're in there. Plus, I guess when you guys play versus, seeing kind of what the teams look like will help you out, too. Arizona, probably the worst team in the game. I mean, they're the worst team in the NHL, so I guess that makes sense. Look at that forward group, lots of 70s, and even the 80s are all low 80s. Defense, they have Ekman Larson. Actually, you know what? Defense isn't that bad. The forwards, though, are just terrible. A couple decent goalies. Scratch there. Really nobody of note. And next, you guys are the Boston Bruins. Obviously, Bergeron just went down. Otherwise, he'd be the first-line center. They got Nash on the second line with Krejci and DeBrusk. Heinonen, Wingels, Backus. I think Nash... Is Nash normally in the third or fourth line, Bruins fans? I'm not sure. Fourth line, though, actually isn't too great. Defense looks pretty solid there. I know they traded for Holden. I'm not seeing him here, and I don't think he's injured. So, for some reason, they have him scratched. Maybe he got injured. I don't know. Plus, they signed Gianta. Forgot about that. So, again, they're another team looking really good. That Atlantic Division, Boston, Tampa, Toronto, just going to be so competitive. Buffalo, obviously, only lost Evander Kane, but also, too, with that, Jack Eichel's injured right now. So, their forward group's actually worse than Arizona's right now in-game, if you include the injuries. Defense outside of Ristolainen's pretty rough. Goalies there, you got Lehner, and of course, like I was saying, Eichel currently injured. Same with Bogosian. So yeah, Buffalo, Arizona. I mean, there's a reason I guess they're at the bottom of the NHL. Calgary here made a couple actually free pickups. I'm trying to remember actually who they got. Nick Shore they got. I'm trying to think. There was somebody else. I can't remember who. Nick Shore. Maybe he's scratched right now. Defense there, obviously one of the better defenses in the league. Smith there. Richards the backup. Somebody else. Yager's still here, even though he's back in Europe. Chris Stewart, that was the other player they picked up. So, I mean, Calgary's definitely got some depth now. I still think it's kind of like 50-50 they make the playoffs or not. So, moving on here with the Carolina Hurricanes. They really didn't do anything, I don't think. Still, though, decent team. If they go on a run, they can make the playoffs. It's going to be tough, though. They actually have some of the best defensive depth in the NHL as well. And then goalies, though, that's definitely the question mark for them. Ward and Darling, both 81s. I feel like they were both 82s last I checked, or maybe Darling was an 82, so he's gone down, I think. Scratch players there, no one of really relevance. And then next up here with the Chicago Blackhawks, obviously Trainway Hartman as well as a couple D-man. So first line there's solid, second line's not too bad. Even the third line, fourth line. I feel like the Taves and Kane contract are definitely going to hurt Chicago though. Moving forward, we're seeing that this year. More so Taves than Kane. Kane I think's worth the $10.5 million. Taves not so much. He's a good two-way center, but he's not $10.5 million good. Same with Seabrook's contract. It's just too much money, I think, for these guys. And then also right now, Crawford's injured, so you're going to scratch. Yeah, Crawford. Hossa, technically, he'll probably never play again if he sat out all this year. I feel like he'll just go on LTIR for the rest of his contract. Colorado Avalanche here, obviously that first line is stacked. I'm trying to think, actually, did they make any moves for the deadline or even just since the last roster update? I don't think so. Bernier's injured, Varlamov's back, so I think maybe that's it. Eric Johnson's out right now, too, actually. Lots of scratch players there, but still kind of like the Hurricanes. They have an outside shot at the playoffs. Most likely not going to happen, but you never know. Columbus Blue Jackets here, really liking the two moves they made at the deadline. So Panarin, Dubois, Atkinson's their first line with Anderson injured. Vanek they got for nothing. Jokinen was a waiver pickup. Mott they got for free with Panarin in exchange for Saw. And I think Panarin's the better player 1-for-1. So basically get Vanek for nothing there. He's on the second line with Wenberg and Jenner. Calvert, Dubinsky, Anderson. Like I said, he's injured right now. I don't know why he's there. And then Borkstrand and Letestu, too, they got for a fourth from Predators. Kind of a weird trade there. Edmonton got Aberg. Predators then flipped him to Columbus for a fourth. People were saying the Preds did that so the Jets wouldn't get him. 4D chess, I guess. And Foligno there on the fourth line. So, I mean, I like Columbus forward depth. Defense, obviously, very solid defense. They should be a playoff team. I think they're 7th or 8th right now. As long as Bobrovsky plays well, they definitely have some of the best depth in the NHL. Really no star power. Like Bobrovsky's the best player on that team, I think. Murray's out right now too. Same with Milano. If they get both those guys back, they should be, you know, a good team. Especially if they get a favorable matchup in the East. Like let's say they get Philly or something. I think they could win that game. I know Philly's first in the Metro right now, but I'm not sold on them being better than Pittsburgh. Dallas here, obviously sick first line. Really no depth though on Dallas, or maybe these guys are underrated. I don't know. Defense, obviously Klingberg career year. I'm trying to think actually, did Dallas make, I don't think Dallas made any moves at the deadline or even leading up to it, so I guess they like their team and they're just willing to stick with it. Detroit obviously traded away Tatar and Mrazek, so there's a look at the forward group. Still, even without Tatar, it's not too bad, especially for like, you know, a rebuilding team. Defense, really wish we could have traded Green, of course. He had to be like injured, and he's in the lineup right now. Maybe he returned. Last I checked though, he was injured. Scratch there. You got Franz, and he still has a contract. Then in goal, you got Howard as a starter. Coro backing him up. It made no sense to have both Howard and Mrazek, so glad they could move one of them for some picks. Next up, we have Edmonton here. Obviously, trade away Maroon for a third and a prospect. I think they might even re-sign him still in the summer. RNH is still out with an injury, although I think he's coming back soon. We've talked about that trade for Aberg. I mean, look at their forward depth. Like, they should have so much better forwards. Could have had Hull, Barzell, and Eberle still on the team without and only losing like Strome and Larson. Just crazy. Defense there. Just a quick look at it. It's okay, I guess. Goalies, Talbot, 84. Pretty sure he started the year at like an 87, so it'll be interesting to see what his rating is next year. And then, yeah, Cassidy and Nugent Hopkins both injured. I think Oviedo's just the 7th defenseman, healthy scratch. Kind of crazy just how much they regress this year. We'll see what happens next year. I think they could bounce back. It depends, I guess, what the moves they make in the summer. Florida here, so what moves did they make? I feel like, did they actually do anything? I'm trying to remember. I feel like they did something. Looking at all the players here, though, I don't know. It must have just been a small deal if they did, but Florida's another team. They're kind of like Detroit's area, where maybe if they go on a crazy run, they can push into the playoffs. Chances are, though, not making the playoffs, nor are they going to have like the best odds at the first overall pick, which kind of sucks. They're like in that middle area. LA here, a lot of people thought maybe they could trade for Pacioretty. Didn't happen. They did make a nice trade, though, for Tobias Ryder, I thought. Get with a backup goalie, that's pretty much it. Get a top 9 forward, like, that's not bad at all. Defense there, obviously, too. They got Phaneuf. That trade I don't think had gone through yet, even though it happened, like, a week before the deadline. Jack Campbell's the new backup. 4 Windsor Spitfire, don't mind that at all. And then scratched here, they just have some 70. Looking at Minnesota's lines now, I think Zucker and Granlund both had 5 points last night. Just ridiculous. I know they had to send down Stewart to the minors. I think it was because somebody got healthy. I don't believe they made actually any trade. Sealer there, 70. Prosser, 76. Is somebody injured for them? I feel like they're D. Olsen, 74. Maybe it just, I don't know. Stubnik's there's the starter. Stalock backing him up. So yeah, no really moves for them. Kind of like Dallas. They're staying pat with the team, hoping for the best. Which obviously, it could be a smart move. You don't have to give up any picks or anything. And if you think you don't have like the best odds of winning, but you know, you don't want to take away from your team either, it probably just makes sense to stand your ground. Montreal, surprised kind of by the lack of moves there. They really need to do something. Like, their first line center is a winger in Durant. Deneau's not really a great second line center. You just kind of see it here. Like, the forward depth isn't great. Defense here, I mean, it's a lot of just kind of 6th or 5th defensemen. Petrie's solid. Mete could turn out good, but the rest of them are all, you know, bottom pairing defensemen in my mind. Obviously, Weber is scratched right now. Sherback, I feel like, should be in the lineup. Hemsky's always injured. Then you got Price and Nets. That's another team. Going to be very interesting to see what they do in the summer. I feel like there's definitely going to be some big changes coming. New York Islanders, another team, expected them to do something. They're kind of like right on the edge of the playoffs. Tavares contract year, maybe try and make it with him, and they didn't do anything. So I think they're just going to hope for the best here, hope they make it in. But I think Columbus right now is the 8th seed, and I like Columbus' team a lot better. Obviously, Barzell's an absolute beast. Also, I just realized their entire second line came from Edmonton. Eberle for Strome, Barzell in the Reinhardt trade, and then Beauvillier was like a result of the Reinhardt trade. I think they got a second, and then they like traded one of their second-round picks with it to move into the first round and get Beauvillier late. So that's kind of funny. Looking at their team there, I think I predicted them to get like 10th at the beginning of the year, and I think they'll probably finish just on the outside looking in. Picked up Davidson, too, for a 3rd-round pick. I feel like that's pretty good value. Similar to Carolina, though, I think their goalie situation, until they figure that out, it just doesn't matter. DeHaan's injured right now, I guess. Them and Carolina, I think, are solid teams, but you really need a true starting goaltender in this league to make it. Maybe you can somehow make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to win the cup with just, you know, tandem goalies. New York here, obviously, I think was the most active team at this year's deadline, and still their team isn't terrible. They have Domestikov playing 3rd line left wing here, but I believe he's playing 3rd line center. with VC on that line, and then Spooner's there. So I think the lines actually look something like that. I think Zuccarello was actually even on the third line. I was just looking at this for fantasy reasons. So I mean, honestly, even after getting all those picks, the team's not terrible. Defense is pretty tough. I mean, they have 260s there. They do have Shattenkirk scratched right now as he's injured. Plus, they sent down Smith to the minors. I don't understand that. I feel like Brendan Smith's for sure better than a couple of the defensemen they have starting, but maybe they're trying to be bad. It's like a sneak tank or something. I don't exactly know, but another team, very interested to see how they do. Lots of good prospects, lots of picks. They could definitely turn it around sooner rather than later. New Jersey here, they're making the playoffs, I think, for the first time in a while. Taylor Hall, the sole reason. He's just an absolute beast. Obviously, they picked up Patrick Maroon along with Michael Grabner. They got Grabner here playing third line left wing, Maroon on the fourth line left wing. So, I mean, worst case scenario, just gives them more forward depth. Defense, after making that Vatanen trade, signing Butcher, definitely looks a lot more solid than in goal right now. Corey Schneider, is he back? I thought he was injured. Maybe he's back and healthy. Johansson, obviously, still injured from the Marchand hit, though. And next up here, guys, we have the Ottawa Senators. Everyone was hoping Karlsson would get traded at the deadline just to see what they got. It would be huge news. Unfortunately, though, they did not make that move. I think he'll definitely be traded in the summer, which is going to be crazy. I can't wait to find out what they get back for him. But looking at the team now, Harvey's on the first line. He was on waivers. It kind of tells you, I guess, where they're at. Honestly, though, I guess outside the fourth line, the team's not terrible, at least for the forwards. Defense there, it's basically Karlsson and Shabbat carrying that team. CC doesn't look good. Clausen, like the rest of these guys, aren't great defensemen. Goalies, Craig Anderson is getting old, and I think he's still signed too for like $4.5 million for the next 2 years. He's gonna be 37 and 38. I don't like that contract at all, but I do know they got a good prospect back with the Brassard trade from the Penguins. So maybe when the contract's up, he'll be ready to be the starter. I don't think it's as bad a situation I think as some people are making it in Ottawa. I guess depending on what they get back for Karlsson, they really need to get an amazing return, which is going to be tough too, unless Karlsson agrees to sign with that team, which I highly doubt he would. Like, there's no reason for him to. Philadelphia here, outside the Mrazek trade, they stood pat, didn't really make many moves. Still surprised, actually. They went from like 10 straight losses to first in the Metro. That is just insane. But Mrazek's actually looked really good for them, and I'm happy for him. Hopefully, too, he can keep playing well, because we'll get, a higher and higher pick. I think if he wins like 5 games or something, we get a third. And if they make it to the Stanley Cup final, we get a second. So I would love that. And next year with the Pittsburgh Penguins, obviously, they are so stacked now at forward. Like, look at that first line. I mean, they have 3, like, essentially first lines. It's just insane. They got Crosby at 93, Malkin at 92, and then Kessel at 89, all spread out. They still have 80s and stuff. Even the fourth line, they got, like, Sheehan's the fourth line center. It's not too bad. Kunakl's not even there, so I'm not sure if he's injured right now, but he would make that forward group even better. Defensively, too, they look pretty solid. Goalies, Murray is out right now, so that's a huge hit to them, but as long as he's back for the playoffs, they'll be okay. And then I'm trying to think. Yeah, so Kunakl's out. I guess that's really it. So as long as Murray's back, Pittsburgh, I don't know if they're the Cup favorite. I really like Tampa, but it's either, them or Tampa. And I guess they could be the conference final matchup. San Jose obviously making the big splash, trading for Evander Kane. I like that trade for them. I feel like they got him very cheap. Helps them out for sure in that top 6. The thing with San Jose is, I'm still not sold they're a playoff team, so I'll be interested to see kind of where they end up. The Pacific's just so close right now with them, Calgary, LA. Gonna be very interesting to see, I guess, who gets in, who doesn't. Other than that, though, I think, the Kane trade was really the main move they made, and it probably should help them get in. A team that did the opposite, I guess, is St. Louis. They're like 2 points behind San Jose, traded Paul Stastny, their second line center, or maybe he was first line, because they have Barbashev now on the first line, playing with Tarasenko and Steen. Soshnikov there, I liked that trade too, a fourth with the Maple Leafs. Shannon Schwartz, decent third line there. Fourth line as well, they got some good depth still, even without Stastny. I was talking about this actually in the Stastny trade. They have so many good young players, good prospects. If they can get a goalie, they're another team who I feel is just a true #1 goaltender away from being a real competitor. I mean, there were some rumors about them getting Price. If they could pull that off, that'd be insane. Edmonton and Fabry both injured. Not sure when they come back, but if they can come back before the end of the season, maybe that helps them make that playoff push. Right now, though, I don't know. It looks like they might finish up 9th or 10th, similar to the Islanders. Next year, the best team in the NHL. I mean, look at that first line. Like, they have Miller back along with McDonough. The defense is going to be so sick. You got Johnson there on the third line. I mean, there's such a solid group of forwards. Defense even, like Hedman, Stroman, Girardi, McDonough. I don't know why Girardi's second pairing. I definitely have Sergachev there. Throw him with Coburn, or even maybe play Dotchin or Cuckoo. Goalies there, of course. Vasilevsky, such a beast. Is anyone injured right now, actually? Schuster might be injured. Palat's injured, too. Forgot about him. So you put Palat back in that forward group. I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be back by the playoffs, and if he is, They are just going to be so scary. Maple Leafs here obviously make the small trade for Canucks. Very good center depth now. Like, look at that. Matthews, Kadri, Bozak, Canucks. Pretty much exactly what you want. I think their lines now are so much better after like a month or so ago where they switched them up. Been playing, like, I think they're the hottest team in the NHL actually for the last month. So GM Jeffler there with the lineup change, and it worked out. Defense too. I think they're all healthy now. Dermott's playing really well. I think Dermott should be higher than a 70 here. He's definitely playing better than that. Polak's a 77. Dermott should be higher. Injuries, really they have nothing. Levo, I'm surprised they didn't trade him just for, you know, a mid-round pick at the deadline. He never plays, so I mean, I think a team would have definitely done that to help them with their playoff push. Vancouver Canucks here somehow made no trades for picks. They did get back Tyler Mott though in the Vanek trade, but looking at it here, Vancouver's in tough. Like, that's not a great group of forwards. Defense is okay, I guess. They re-signed Goodbranson though. I feel like that's almost insulting. EA gave him a 76, and he's making $4 million. So if you do Canucks franchise mode, no way anyone's taking him. Goalies, Markstrom, Nielsen, I don't think are honestly terrible. Especially too, they have Thatcher Demko. They don't really have to worry about it. Pouliot here, scratch. Same with Mott, Goldobin. So I mean, they do have some young players who could turn out, but Vancouver, they're kind of like in a weird situation. They have Peterson as well, but I don't know. I'm just not a big believer right now in the Canucks rebuild. I think they still need to get more picks, more prospects. Vegas, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, making that big trade for Tatar. He's actually playing third line with Eakin and Tuck. Kind of crazy, I guess, that Tatar is only a third liner on Vegas. He was a first or second liner on Detroit, but I mean, they're playing well. I am definitely not going to critique their strategy here. Defense, too, they really have no number one defenseman. They just have a bunch of, like, solid defensemen that's working out really well for them. Marc-Andre Fleury is playing like an absolute beast. I'm guessing Subban's down if Legacy's backup right now. I'm very excited to see how they play in the playoffs. Are they just going to absolutely collapse? Are they going to go on a Cinderella run? Like, imagine if they won the Stanley Cup. I don't know how NHL would react. Like, it would just be so ridiculous. Washington here, I don't think they actually made any moves at the deadline for the first time in a while, so maybe like this is the year they actually, you know, put it together, less pressure on them, no one has them as a favorite to win, they don't make any moves, right? They did pick up Kempny, I guess, and I think they picked up somebody else too, I forget. But goalies here, Holtby obviously, scratched. Jarabak, he was the other guy that they picked up, so I mean, a couple minor moves, nothing crazy. They get bounced by Pittsburgh again, semifinals Eastern Conference, have to find out. And then finally here, Winnipeg, similar to Toronto, Pittsburgh, just so much good center depth now. Scheifele, Stastny, Little down the middle. Look at that top six. Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, Laine, Stastny, Ehlers. That's just unreal. Third line's also solid. Fourth line's not too bad. I know they have a couple guys injured right now too. Defense, I think they're missing Trouba. Once he's back, I mean, they're going to be absolutely stacked. Hellbeck is a big reason why they're good this year. He just, you know, came into his own, been an absolute beast. Trouba, Lowry, yeah, they have some guys injured. Dano, he actually could just be a healthy scratch, but if they can get healthy by the start of the playoffs, they're going to be a very scary team. I think like them and Nashville are my 2 picks in the West, Tampa and Pittsburgh my 2 picks in the East. So anyway guys, that is it for the trade deadline roster update. Like I said, as far as I know, no rating changes, just like player personnel movement and stuff like that. Who do you guys think is the best looking team now, both in real life after the deadline as well as in-game? In-game, I think it's got to be Tampa Bay. You get a 90 overall goalie in net and Vasilevsky, solid D, great group of forwards. I mean, maybe Pittsburgh as well. It's one of those two. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.